And thank you. All right, so I call the Board of Canvassers to order. It is October 21st at 3 o'clock. And we have a quorum present. The quorum consists of Daniel Karoma, Ami Hober, Diane Dillon, and myself. And Boris, I turn it over to you.
Good afternoon, board. We have 4 untimely ballots from the 2024 primary elections for the Board of Canvassers to reject. 3 of them are domestic ones that were mailed late and received late. And the last one is Yokawa, which was date stamped May 13th, but received late.
Wow.
Okay. Mr. President, do you want a motion to reject the ballots as being untimely?
I'll just consider that to be the motion. Is there a
Yes.
second?
Second.
All right, moved by Ami, seconded by Diane. My only comment will be that this fits in completely with what I've been telling everyone. Don't delay. Send your ballots in. If you delay, you never know when we'll actually get it. And this is a good example. The primary was more than 5 months ago. So anyway, okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone against? No. So it is unanimous. Boris, do you have anything else for the Board of Canvassers? The only thing I would mention about the Board of Canvassers is our next meeting, which I will remind everybody again at the end of our Board of Elections meeting, but we are not meeting on Wednesday as had been tentatively planned. We will be meeting again on Saturday, 10 o'clock at Montgomery College, Germantown Biosciences Education Building. Okay, the Board of Canvassers is adjourned, and I now call to order the Board of Elections. We do have a quorum present, as stated before. Daniel, Ami, Diane, and myself. And I'll go straight to my comments. I'm going to start with a bit of a point of personal privilege. I would like to acknowledge the passing of a great supporter of democracy. That would be my mother, Judith Sandberg Naiman, who passed away on September the 23rd. She was an immigrant to this country, a naturalized citizen, and I know that she voted in every Montgomery County election from 1962 to 2020. I will say that when 2022 came around, her mental decline was such that she was not able to indicate a desire to vote. And although it's not clear under Maryland law whether she could have voted anyway, I did not assist her with the ballot in 2022. But she considered democracy to be extraordinarily important, encouraged me in all my endeavors. And the one quick story I would tell is that 6-year-old David was being egged on by his mother in my very first voting rights effort. It involved her taking dictation from me on a letter to then President Lyndon Johnson, asking him to lower the voting age to 6. And I was not successful in that, but I would point out that only a few years later, the national voting age was lowered to 18. So I'm sure it was my letter that made all the difference. But I've had a lifelong involvement with democracy ever since, and so I did want to note that she had a very interesting life in many other ways, but we do not have time for all of that today. But I'm happy to talk to people who haven't already heard all those stories separately. The second thing I wanted to mention is that Ami, Boris, Kevin, and I met today with Michael Fletcher and with MCGOP Vice Chair Stacy Sauter. Robin Sachs from the Maryland Voter Integrity Group was going to join us, but was not feeling well this morning, and so she was not able to join us. But I thought it was a very productive discussion. Among the subjects were mail-in ballot concerns, voter registration list cleanup questions, our sample ballot mailings, and election judge recruitment. Where the voter registration list is concerned, everyone acknowledged what I think we all know. The National Voter Registration Act does not allow for voter registration cleanup except in very limited circumstances during what's called the quiet period, which is 90 days before the election. The 90-day mark was roughly August the 7th. We are still able for reported deaths to remove those from the voting rolls, which has already happened relative to my mother. But in general, there are very few instances where we make changes this close to an election, but that can continue later. It was a very productive conversation. I was glad that we had it. It was a bipartisan conversation, and I think we each learned from each other. I wanted to thank our staff for all of their work since our September 16th meeting, which was 35 days ago, but it seems like it was a lot longer than that. Boris will discuss some of the things that have happened since then. I'd like to emphasize that we processed, but have not yet counted, 38,000 voted mail-in ballots that have already been returned. I believe that we've received roughly 60,000 ballots so far. We sent out roughly 170,000 mail-in ballots. And of course, we will be continuing that when we meet on Saturday. We have bipartisan teams that are collecting daily from drop boxes that will go to twice daily when early voting starts on this Thursday. There are people who are sorting the mail and the ballots. They're marking them as received. They're bringing them to Canvas. There's a lot of work that is being done right now. I was at the board earlier today, and Janet Ross was working on preparing for early voting and all the things that have to be done for that. So lots of activity in the last few weeks that I did want to thank our staff for at this point. I'll be thanking them a lot for the next few weeks because there's a lot to thank for, but I did want to mention that because we haven't had a chance to meet in a while. That is all that I had for the board president's comments. Did anyone else have anything that they wanted to say before we move on into the next item in the agenda? Okay, are there any additions or changes to the agenda? Okay, seeing none, disclosure of campaign contributions and attendance at fundraisers. Does anyone have a contribution or attendance at a fundraiser to disclose at this time?
Mr. President, this is Ami, and I do.
Okay, Ami, go ahead.
I have donated $1,000 to the Neil Parrott campaign for CD6, and I have donated $1,500 to the Larry Hogan campaign for the Senate race.
I believe that under our bylaws, we're supposed to get an approximate time or date, if you happen to know.
They were both within the last week.
Okay, that's close enough as far as I'm concerned. Does anyone else have any contributions or attendance to report?
I have one to report.
Go ahead, Diane.
I attended my quadrennial every 4 year. My GOP Congressional Women fundraiser this year, it was called Women 47. one of the recipients of the $500 contribution, this was the end of September, was for the Trump campaign, along with GOP women in the US House and Senate. And of course, the only one that I guess applies there would be the portion that goes to Trump, but it was a $500.
Okay, thank you, Diane. Anybody else? Okay, we are now, I believe, at the public comment period. As of 2 hours ago, we had no one signed up for public comment, but I did get a text from Senator Cheryl Kagan indicating that she might want to address us. I do not see her on the Zoom, but Senator, if you are on with someone else's name attached to you, please raise your hand and we will call on you. Since I do not see her, I will move on to ask if there's anyone else who would like to address the board at this time. Okay, I don't see any hands up for that, so why don't we move on to the election director's report? Boris, I'm going to call on you, but I'm going to say that if Senator Kagan does show up, I may interrupt you to give her that opportunity, and then we'll resume with your report.
That's absolutely fine with me.
Thank you.
I'll just try very briefly to go through the director's report that was shared with the board and published on our website last Thursday, October 17th. This report may be compared to the previous director's reports. Someone might consider data heavy, but I believe it was timely to present to the board and the public numbers related to few topics that are of interest. When it comes to voter registration statistics, as usual, we report data for as of the last day of the previous month. So that will be end of September. There were 688,741 active registered voters in Montgomery County, together with 75,072 inactive voters, making a total of 763,813. In this report, I included a distribution party breakdown of voter registration in Montgomery County, which indicates that there is almost 59% registered Democrats, 14.3% registered Republicans, unaffiliated voters make 25%, 1/4, and others make 1.5%. When it comes to the State Board of Elections, I reported in my report, presented my report and present to the board and public that at their meeting on September 24th, the State Board of Elections approved staff's request to deploy additional ballot marking devices to 8 early voting sites and 19 election day polling places for the 2024 presidential general election. The list and the request came as a result of our internal review of voter patterns and at these polling places where we noticed increased use of ballot marking devices. So the request was made to accommodate voters' preferences and hopefully improve their voting experience in this upcoming election. When it comes to personnel, vote by mail program manager position has been published. It will remain open for 4 weeks. We will be re-advertising ad for deputy election director position. In addition to that, we are working with our colleagues at Office of Management and Budget and Human Resources to publish the ad for the manager of recruitment with the BOE, while the budget and finance position will remain vacant for the time being, with the task being performed by our HR liaison administrative specialist 2. In terms of temporary positions, it's an old story that the BOEs is like an accordion that we expand and retract as we are getting closer to the election day itself. We already approaching the peak. Our total number of temporary employees is 76. These are the employees that perform different functions, from preparing equipment and supplies for the polling places, wrapping up the training for recruitment for election judges, helping us with the processing mailing ballot applications and received ballots, and any other task in the building that we might have at this time. When it comes to budget, we shared the expenditure tracking report for the approved fiscal year 2025. Based on the board's comments, we changed the form for this meeting. The form will show 3 columns. It will show the approved budget. It will show current month spending expenditures and total that we spent up to this date in a year. Again, we just finished the first quarter, and the first and second quarter should be the time where we will spend most of our budget, because everything will be election related and election activities driven. When it comes to the voter communication efforts, something that we are trying to increase for quite some time, and I try to report to the board on this. The first item relates to the sample ballot that we, just like any other jurisdiction in the state of Maryland, is legally required to send to our registered voters. If my memory serves me well, our legal deadline to send a sample ballot is 1 week before the early voting. However, we really tried this year to have our sample ballot out before the mail-in ballots start going out to voters. That means that our goal was to have the sample ballot 45 days, if not more, before the election day. I have to say that again, unfortunately, there was an error on the sample ballot itself, and in the address list that we use to send ballots to our voters. We are most grateful to our voters who actually called us immediately when they noticed the error, which helped us to stop the mailing process, identify the error, issue the press release, notify everyone about what happened and what our next steps would be. We also withdrew all the sample ballots that were in the mail stream at that point. And for the first time ever, we emailed sample ballots to every voter who shared their email address with us. That was the fastest way to do it. And I have to admit that we received quite few positive comments about emailing sample ballots for the future as well. So another public call to anyone: when you update your voter registration, please share your email address with us, because this is something that we would like to continue doing in the future as well. We did send corrected sample ballots to all our voters in the subsequent weeks. Again, we still met all the legal deadlines and everything, but our initial idea to have it as early as possible did not materialize this time, but it's not a reason for us not to make it better for the next election. The second item that I need to mention is that on October 4th, the board issued a press release after learning that 224 voters in Bethesda area received duplicate mail-in ballots that they duly requested. We contacted the state. We had the meetings with the vendor. This was an unintentional error of the state vendor that is sending out mail-in ballots to all voters in the state of Maryland. Again, our press release clearly indicated what happened and what actions were undertaken. State Board of Election prepared and issued a letter to each affected voter, while staff on our end, we reached out to every voter that we had the phone numbers registered in our database to communicate with them as early as possible while they were awaiting for the letter that was mailed on behalf of the State Board of Elections. The key message.
Boris, I'm sorry, you finish, but before you get onto the sections, I'm going to have something to say, but go ahead.
The key message here was that the error happened. However, the system is designed to allow only one ballot for one voter to be accepted, sent to Canvas, and counted as a part of the process. Yes, David.
So I just wanted to underscore a couple of things that you just said and provide a little bit of additional information. The first is that in the instances of these errors, some of which were ours and some of which were not, we issued press releases, and there aren't that many government agencies or any kind of agency that issues press releases around mistakes. But we did that in order to share with the public the true facts of what was happening instead of what the imagination can conjure up, which is often worst case scenarios and et cetera. And also in both instances, we went above and beyond what the law required. In the case of the sample ballot, we made an effort. We were the first jurisdiction in the state by far to send out sample ballots for this election. Unfortunately, they did have the mailing issues, which our voters brought to our attention, and a date issue for early voting in the Spanish version of the sample ballot, only in one place. It was actually correct in one place and incorrect in one place, and it was correct in two places in English. But we couldn't have a sample ballot out there that told English speakers to vote on certain days and Spanish speakers to vote on different days. So we did something that's really hard to do, which is getting something back that you've already delivered to the post office. I don't know if any of you have ever tried to do that, but that's quite an undertaking. And I have to give Boris and the staff credit. The fact that we had met with the postmasters a few weeks prior meant that we had a relationship with them, so that when we did need action from them to help us to accomplish this, they were able to do that for us. But in the case of the duplicate ballots, that was a state vendor, not ours. It was just our bad luck that of all the places in the state for this problem to occur, it happened to occur in Montgomery County, not too far from where I live. But again, Boris and the staff went beyond. We already knew that the state was sending them letters. We called them in addition. So I want to say that elections are a human process. We're all human. Sometimes errors are made. I'm very proud of our transparency and the fact that when errors are made, we not only own up to them if they're ours, but we make sure that our voters are appropriately informed of what's happening. I do think that it is getting notice from some of the people who are sometimes skeptical of election officials. And I wanted to just read you one nice comment that I received. I want you to know how much I appreciate how open you've been with Montgomery County citizens. I felt you and Boris display the utmost professionalism. Actually, it wasn't just Boris and me. We were just representatives of the whole group. That came from Robin Sachs of the Maryland Voter Integrity Group in her note to me this morning when she couldn't come to our meeting. I'm very happy if she and others are noticing that we are spreading the truth. And hopefully they will help us to spread the truth, and hopefully everyone else will too. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. The next segment of the director's report refers to the sections of the board and the activities that we conducted in the reporting period. As the board members know very well, October 15th was the advanced deadline for voter registration. It was a busy time as any pre-election time when the deadline kicks in. We processed in a very short span of time over 18,000 timely received either new voter registrations or updates to voter registration. We had another 8,000 updates received through ERIC, Electronic Registration Information Center, from other states that are partnered with the Montgomery County. And we mailed over 10,000 letters to voters who registered the moment they could, the moment they turned 16, but who will not be of voting age, who will not be 18 by the election day this year. We did 14 registered trainings for 62 interested individuals, people, our voters who wanted to work in their communities and register voters or help them update their voter registration records. We have, like any other election, we establish our own call center a few weeks before the election day, which helps us to simultaneously take care of administrative work, which is processing applications, receiving ballots, and etc., serving voters who come to visit us and vote in person or do their voter registration updates in person, but in the same time answer all the phone calls that are coming in. When it comes to the vote by mail team as a part of voter services sections, we are still receiving a high number of vote by mail applications. That number fluctuates. There are some days, I believe last Thursday, we received over 3,000 in one day and went down to 700 few days later. So deadlines are approaching. Our voters are still deciding to vote by mail, and we are working against the clock to process those applications, on time. We are well over 174,000 received mail-in ballots, which is a huge number, and I would not be surprised if we get another maybe 10,000 in before the deadline.
I'm sorry, Boris, could you say that again, please?
So we, as of today, we are talking about 175,000 requested mail-in ballots.
Okay.
I personally would not be surprised if we receive another 10,000 by the end of this season. Again, it's very hard to estimate. We are always asked, what will happen with how voters will decide. Unfortunately, we don't have a crystal ball. I do not know what is the Montgomery County ceiling when it comes to vote by mail requests. And I believe this would be good election to learn what that ceiling is. What the fact is also is that we are almost 28,000 web delivery ballots, which is a separate process, more labor intensive, and I believe the board spoke many times about this, and we will see how many of those will be returned. As David mentioned, that week already canvassed over 37,000 ballots. Just for the comparison, that is more than we canvassed before the primary election day on May 14th. And if we continue with the pace of receiving ballots and preparing them for canvass, because there are multiple steps in the process there that requires a lot of hours by the team, I think that we are on a track to canvass more ballots before the election day for the general election than we total canvass for the primary election. So again, we will see how the numbers will look like by the election day, but the pace of the incoming ballots, the speed in which we are preparing them for the canvass, because again, it's not a linear process, from one corner of the building to canvass another. but I think that we are well positioned to tackle those big numbers. In the again 120,000 permanent mail-in ballot requests so far, which I believe is a number that not too many expected to be set up, clearly indicating that vote by mail is a preference of choice for many voters in Montgomery County. I added two graphs to my report just to indicate mode of delivery, with 142,000 for mail and 27,600 for the web delivery. Please keep in mind, these are the numbers from last week. These are the numbers from the last week when I pulled it. I also presented the party distribution of those mail-in ballot requests, with 69% for Democrats, 11% Republicans, 18%, almost 19% for unaffiliated. When it comes to IT and training section, we did a public demonstration of logic and accuracy on October 17th with the presence of the board members and public. The IT section is working on preparing the poll books now to be deployed to early voting sites and election day polling places. And when it comes to trainings, just a reminder that trainings for the election judges, election workers started on August 26th, and we have organized more than 250 classes, I believe, by date. And 3,570 election workers took part in those trainings by October 17th. When it comes to operations section, the all focus now is on supplies for early voting sites, election day, and deployment of those supplies to the location where they need to be placed. As David mentioned in his opening, Dropbox pickups are daily occurrence. As of Thursday, we are moving into twice a day because that's when the early voting starts. Recruitment. Recruitment has been an ongoing process for a long time. We never stopped recruiting. We never stopped accepting applications. As a matter of fact, we still do, because we still have some trainings that will be organized and conducted by November 2nd. In order to bring additional clarity to help our volunteers plan for their service during either early voting or election day, we try to publish the rosters for early voting sites and election day polling places 3 weeks before the date. That gives sufficient time for those who volunteered, who signed up to serve, to plan their schedule accordingly. In the same manner, the rosters for the early voting sites were published to those who signed up on October 3rd, and for election day polling places on October 15th. The report includes a couple of statistics, which says that we had almost 8,000 prospective volunteers who were available to serve in the general election. We are talking about people who expressed interest, who completed the applications. Almost 2,700 were added since the primary election, and the total again of 3,570 volunteers completed in-person training by October 17 this year. The last page of my report just provides 4 graphs that indicate party breakdown of the volunteers. 450 volunteers have signed to attend in-person training from October 18 to October 26. That's a very important piece for these graphs. So the first graph that you will see is the breakdown of prospective volunteers, that almost 8,000 number that I mentioned earlier, which indicate party breakdown of individuals who consider to volunteer for the election. The next graph is talking about completed training party breakdown. You will see that we have 69% Democrats, 11% Republicans, and 80% unaffiliated volunteers. When it comes to election day, assigned election judges, those who went through the training and got their assignments for any of 232 polling places that we will have on election day, you will see that percentages hold. The percentages are consistent, with Democrats 68%, Republicans 11%, unaffiliated 18%. And when it comes to early voting service days, early voting is slightly different than election day because it lasts 8 days. Individuals might serve multiple days. That's why we calculate service days totals instead of day per day. You will see that the Democratic representation stays the same, with Republicans going up to 2%. Again, these numbers might show high number of volunteers that we might have on election day, but the caveat is right before these graphs. We might be the only county in state of Maryland, I have to confirm that offers half shifts for our volunteers to serve. So the calculation is there that the number that you see is actually includes the number of volunteers who will serve half days only. So for election day, we have 514 volunteers who signed to serve half days. And for early voting, that number is 942 service days. So for the early voting, the number of individual volunteers who signed to serve includes 788 Democrats, 142 Republicans, 189 unaffiliated, and 15 others. As a total, when it comes to recruitment and our efforts to have every polling place staffed to the level that we believe should be sufficient to accommodate a pleasant voting experience and efficient voting process, we are still in need of volunteers. Therefore, we are still having trainings, and therefore we will have trainings until November 2nd. At this point, those who are signing up, we offer different trainings with the folks on those positions that we are in key need. And this year, it's not different from the primary, and it's chief judges. I just have to make a note to the board and to the public that we look at these numbers while we are expecting that there will be a number of volunteers who will, for different reasons, not be able to serve on those days that they were assigned and they were selected by themselves. So we are preparing for those contingencies for those situations, hoping that we will have as close rosters to the target as possible. The last section is the meetings and events. Just as
Boris, can I ask something on the sections, or should I wait till the end?
Please.
Sorry, it got away from me when you were talking about the mail-in ballot request. Sorry, everybody, but I was just trying to reconcile my numbers. Did you say that so far it's 175,000 mail-in ballots requests? I mean,
That's correct.
Requests from voters.
Pardon me?
Requests from voters.
Yes. And then did you say there's, this is where I think I got messed up, 120,000 permanent?
That's correct.
So those together.
No. The 120 are included in 170.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
No problem.
No wonder.
So we have 120,000 who are on the permanent list, and we have 50,000 additional that are not on the permanent list.
Got it.
Is that right? Is that right, Boris?
That's correct.
Oh, wait,
And
okay.
again,
Thank you.
then I might be talking about slightly bigger number because I looked at the data this morning, and this is data from the last week when I prepared it for the board.
That's okay. I was blowing it up, and
No.
So yeah, Diane, there's a lot of them, but not quite as many as if you added
Yeah.
the numbers
I
together.
almost had a heart attack over here. All right, thank you.
Fair enough. Now, I just wanted to mention that on September 17th, the Montgomery County Council issued a proclamation recognizing National Voter Registration Day. The proclamation was issued sponsored by Council Vice President Stewart. The board president, vice president, and staff were present at the event. That would conclude my report for today.
Thank you, Boris. I just want to talk for a minute about the statistics about our election judges. Some of you may know that there have been some issues in other parts of the state about an attempt to get to so-called parity between Democrats and Republicans. In Montgomery County, with 14% of registered voters being Republicans and almost 60% of voters being Democrats, it is very difficult, if not impossible, to get to that parity. And as I understand it from Kevin, we've never had that in his tenure. So, and I don't know when the last time was that we did. But what I noticed about these numbers is that the percentage of Republicans and unaffiliated judges are actually less than their percentage of the Montgomery County voter registration population, which is a much more modest goal just for our election judges to reflect our voter registry. And we had a number of conversations earlier today about recruitment. I know that Ami had encouraged some additional outreach. I know that Gilberto has done some additional outreach. I know that we've been working with the MCGOP, and I really made the point today that I hope that the MCGOP will consider the wisdom of poll watchers versus election judges, simply because you can be a much better poll watcher if you've been an election judge and you know how the process works. But if someone is going to be watching what we're doing, but we don't have that party affiliation as well represented among our judges as possible, I don't know that that's the best for the whole system, and at least that's something that people should consider. As Boris mentioned, we do have part-day shifts. So if someone is a poll watcher, when I say a poll watcher, I'm referring to the people who are actually inside the polls. I'm not talking about people who are outside electioneering. In Democratic Party parlance, apparently you can be called a poll watcher if you're at a table outside, but that's not what I'm talking about. Anyway, I would hope that the people who are poll watchers, and they're important, and our work will stand up to scrutiny, and I have no problem with people being poll watchers, but I hope that some of them will consider being election judges, especially if the problem is the long day. We have these part-day opportunities. We may be the only county in the state that does this, but there is actually a state law that permits it. So, you know, I mean, explicitly permits it. So there's definitely an opportunity for part-time judges. And as I told the folks we were meeting with earlier, I would be happy to hear any additional ideas that people have for how we can increase our recruitment among Republicans. I've been mentioning it almost everywhere I go, including to Democratic audiences, and saying, you know, if you have a neighbor or a friend or whatever that you know that they should consider this. But clearly, we want to have you know, as much bipartisanship as possible. And then, of course, the most important point is that regardless of the party affiliation of our judges, whether they are Democrats, Republicans, Independents, Green Party, or Libertarians, or something else, their job is not to represent a political party. Their job is to be fair to everyone, to be open to everyone, to treat everyone fairly. And I know that that's part of our training, and I know that that's part of our culture, but I just wanted to reiterate that. As much as I would like us to have you know, more judges of different party affiliations than the majority party in Montgomery County, it's everyone's job to be fair to everyone. And I think that we all you know, subscribe to that. But if anyone has any suggestions, happy to do it. If I can personally do anything to help in the recruitment effort, I'm happy to do it. I'm thrilled that Gilberto has gone to more Republican functions. We've done more events that are not in the traditional kind of down county areas. We've done more in other parts of the county that hopefully should help. But whatever else we can do, we're happy to do it.
If I may just add, David, it's whenever there is an event that we received information about, either from the board members, by the GOP Central Committee members or leadership or the activists, we made every effort possible to be present. And as Gilberto would always say, whether there are 2 people or 22 or 200, we will be there.
Which is great. Thank you. Alex, you had your hand up.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know for sure about this, but there may be 1 or 2 people Republicans whom I recruited to be canvassers. I guess it's possible they might be interested in being an election judge as well, but I don't know if you want to keep them separate or not for this time around.
Being a canvasser, serving during early voting and election day, everything is open, right? One individual.
We have people who do all, right?
Yeah, we have people who do all those different tasks. Yes, we try to be wary about signing up people for multiple days in a row when it comes to early voting, because as David rightly mentioned, it's a long day, and we expect high turnout. So starting at 6, finishing at 10, 11. It's only something that we can do for a few days in a row. But we absolutely have individuals who serve during early voting, election day, canvass. We also some of them who served as a Dropbox attendants in the very beginning, and then transitioned to different roles. So we are not excluding one position from another.
Well, it's possible that 1 or 2 of these folks might be interested in doing that. I guess then you say there's trainings available until 11/2, right?
Yeah. They have to sign up. They have to take the quiz. They have to follow the same process like any other volunteer followed. And with the only caveat here is, I don't really know from the top of my head what kind of trainings are available. But as I said, this late in the process, we focus to offer trainings for positions that we are in deficit across the county. So there'll be training more or less for every position, but focus will be on those that we are short.
And which ones are those as of now?
That will be chiefs, that will be closers, I believe, primarily, but we will have other regular positions.
And Alex, feel free to encourage your friends not to wait until 11/2, because if they do, their choice of where to go may not be to their liking. In fact, it may already not be to their liking, but they'll have more choice the sooner they do it. Of course, that is kind of my theme on everything. I've been telling people that they should send their mail-in ballots back as early as possible. I'm telling people who are early voting, don't wait for the last 2 hours, with the additional complication this year that the last 2 hours are on Halloween. And for election day, same thing. If you wait until exactly 8 o'clock to either turn in your mail-in ballot or to go to the polls on election day, and you're 1 minute late, as the board knows, if you're 1 minute late, you may hand us your ballot, but we're not allowed to count it. So, I'm encouraging everyone not to be like me, not to be a procrastinator, and to return things as early as possible. And I would encourage anyone who wants to be an election judge, as soon as you decide to do that, sign up for your training and not wait till the last minute, or else you may end up traveling a lot further for your service than you want.
If I may add, David, training openings, slots at the trainings are filling out. There are spatial requirements, right? How many people we can fit in the room, how big size of the group is manageable for quality training. So if you are interested, please go to our website, sign up, do the quiz, sign up for the training immediately.
Any other questions for Boris about the director's report? Okay, thank you, Boris. So the next thing on the agenda would be the board attorney's report. Kevin.
Good afternoon. I'll be very short and to the point. There are no significant legal updates that I need to give the board. We have a couple MPI, Maryland Public Information Act requests that we're working on, but I'm working with Boris and Lisa to get those completed, but nothing of any real significance.
Okay. Any questions for Kevin about that very short report? Daniel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Kevin, so are you informed about the lawsuits that are happening at the state level? And are you working with your counterparts there to make sure that the public is also informed about, especially the Montgomery County voters are informed about the outcomes of those or the resolutions or any press release that is issued by the state?
I keep informed of those that affect Montgomery County. I mean, and I'm generally aware of, for example, the charter amendment question in Baltimore City regarding the renovation of the Inner Harbor. But because they really don't relate to Montgomery County, and knock on wood, we haven't been the subject of any litigation this election cycle. You know, I've been following it from a distance and knocking on wood that we don't get included in it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Daniel, do you have any particular one in which you're interested?
Well, I mean, all of them, but my thing is that because we're in the state and I just don't want a Montgomery County voter to feel like they're included or they're impacted by any of the lawsuits that are happening in other jurisdictions.
Okay, well, to be clear, Montgomery County is not.
Okay.
They're not one of the jurisdictions that's been impacted by any of the cases that have gone to the Supreme Court of Maryland.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Kevin? Okay, seeing none. Old business. Is there any old business? Alex.
Mr. President, I'm not sure if we had held over a confidentiality request from the last session, but we might have dealt with that and I just am not remembering.
No, it's held over, but it's part of our executive session today.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. In addition to a new one as well. Any other old business? All right, Boris, the website report.
I'll be very brief on this report. As we all expected, September numbers went really up over 50% when it comes to number of web pages viewed by users. So we moved from 60,000 to 100,000 just in 1 month, and more or less these percentages hold through the rest of the categories that we include in our report. What was important for us that election judges, election judging training materials were were number 2 and number 3 of the pages on our website visited in September, and this corresponds to the interest that we have seen in terms of trainings and participation. Of course, vote by mail is always high as in this time of the year. Again, very brief report. Numbers, as expected, went up in September. We hit 101,000 page views in 1 month, which I believe is a significant traffic for our website.
Any questions for Boris about the website? Daniel.
Boris, so what are the top 2 or 3 pages that are visited? And is there data on how long people are staying on those pages?
So, when it comes to the length of time that we are talking about 78 seconds, right? We are talking about people getting in and finding what they need to go. This is where they're going. So when it comes to most visited pages, election judge connection was visited 14,000 times. And this is what we wanted in the month of September. This was our focus to enhance recruitment or to support recruitment efforts, because it goes through the website. It goes through EJ connection that exists there. Again, with the elections approaching, vote by mail section of the website was visited 5,000 times. And this is just in addition to all other efforts that we had with the communication to the voters through social media, press releases, or anything that goes along. But you will see that out of top 10 pages on our website, I believe that 7 or 8 of them are related to recruitment. It's either election judges, election worker overview, future vote was also made it to the top 10 with 3,000 views. These are the things that we would like to see going forward. And just when it comes to recruitment, I don't want to sound I don't want to oversimplify the recruitment, because we sometimes just talk about it as a recruitment itself. For us, recruitment is more complex than just finding and bringing volunteers to serve on election day. We are talking about reaching out to these individuals, helping them register, helping them through the training process, right? Giving them assignment either during early voting on election day, and engaging in retention. Because we are looking for the volunteers who will be with us for the election cycles to come. So we really try to provide positive experience when it comes to their effort on their end to register, to train, and to serve, and to help us through the not only this election, but 2026, 2028. There will be more elections ahead of us.
Absolutely. We want more elections ahead of us. But I just want to highlight that, and that's why I actually asked the question, because it does help with institutional knowledge, as we know, but also intergenerational activities as well. So thank you. Of course, Future Votes, we all love the program. We love, and I like the fact that, the retention part of it, so that folks who are starting with us now get to come back. But when they come back more experienced, because they worked with other experienced volunteers as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Boris, can we assume that sometime within the next few days, the register to vote today section will disappear and the early voting section will get more prominence?
Yeah, we can expose that on the website, but as I said, voter registration just closed last week, so we kept
No,
everything.
I understand. You guys are doing a lot at the same time. But obviously, people, while they can register to vote at same-day registration, and while they could register to vote before October 15th, today is not one of the days where they can register to vote.
Yeah, but
So,
there's a caveat there. They still, even though the state link might be suspended for the quiet period from the advanced deadline until, I believe, 11 days after the election, any form that we have, it's still available on our website. Anyone can still download that form, whether it's voter registration or cancellation of voter registration, and send it back to us. Yes, we cannot process it now until voter registration books reopen after the election day, but this process never stops. So
okay.
It's still, people can download the application, send it back to us, or download the form to cancel their voter registration and send it to us. We legally cannot touch it until the state announces that voter registration is reopened. And I believe the deadline is 11 days after the election day.
Right. I'm just concerned that while I realize that it's a complicated, everything to do with voter registration deadlines are a complicated message because of the interaction of the calendar, the advanced registration, and the same day registration. But as of right now, the link on our website says register to vote today. You know, that's just my concern, that we explain in some fashion or say it in a different way or something. So anyway, I'll leave that.
Yeah,
I'll
we
leave
can
that
leave
to you.
voter registration options. Okay. we'll
Yeah,
look at it.
something like that. Okay. Are there anything else about the website? See none, it is time for Dr. Zelaya, if he can be promoted to be a panelist for the outreach update. Or is he sitting right next to you, Boris?
He was in his office because he was on a different call. So
No worries, no worries. He's been promoted. There he is. There he is. I'm hoping that he's not actually entertaining voters with the vote here sign that is right next to him right now.
No. It's a
Uh,
prop.
okay,
When
so we have a prop, but not. I just want to make it clear to anyone who's watching: people are not voting in Dr. Z's office.
No. So thank you so much, David and the board. Outreach is coming to a close. We're winding down with a couple of events. They are on our website, 777vote.org. I do want to thank publicly and recognize not only the board for providing opportunities to engage our diverse electorate, but also I want to thank the staff, both from voter registration, voter recruitment, our outreach team, for stepping up and covering a multitude of events, Monday through Sunday, morning, afternoon, and evening. The call to action starts within the community, but we are here to serve. And as Boris noted, whether it's 500 people or 5,000, we want a table at the event. Also want to thank the multitude of organizations, faith-based, nonprofit, academia like Montgomery College, universities of Shady Grove, the public school system, both parochial and private, and even homeschool, for affording us the opportunity to engage the electorate. Currently, as it sits, we're going to hit a little over 600 outreach events, which I think I'm confident to say that we do more than the state combined. We do a lot of outreach, and I believe that every day someone's coming of age to pre-register to vote or to vote this coming November 5th. So it's important that we engage our community. And also, this is a year-round endeavor. We don't pick up, the outreach bandwagon 90 days before. We will continue to do outreach past election certification for the current election. In addition to the 600 events, also want to thank the corresponding central committees of both parties for affording us the opportunity to engage the electorate, both the Democratic Central Committee and also the Montgomery County Republican Central Committee. We've established a relationship, and we've started when we did a large voter registration election poll worker recruitment effort here with the GOP in Montgomery County at our office, June of last year. And we've done a series of 4 events at the headquarters talking about the poll worker recruitment, but also the differences between serving as a poll worker and serving as an observer watcher. So I want to thank Chairman Melby, the committee members, Ms. Laura Jaffrey, Tracy Humphrey, Stacy Stoddard, Brigitte Mulligan, for making those opportunities. And we will continue to establish that relationship long after this election as we near the 2026 elections. Regarding Future Vote, we have about a little over 1,200 students trained and ready to serve within Montgomery County polling places on November 5th. And during early voting, and out of those 1,200 students, they will fill about a little over 1,600 slots. And each slot is about 3 hours long. And for a total of over 4,800 service hours that they will provide to our voters, buttressing our trained and vetted election workers. And from those students, hopefully in the future, once they come of age, we will encourage them to pre-register to vote if they're 16. And once they hit 18 by the next general election, I believe is Tuesday, November 3rd of 2026, we'll invite them to vote as well, but also to step up to serve our poll workers on the other side of the check-in table as trained and vetted individuals. So outreach is coming to a close. As I mentioned, I want to thank everyone. It's a team effort, and definitely once we certify the elections, we'll get into more of the numbers and outcomes. But once again, think of us even in 2025. Outreach continues every day.
Can I say something?
Go ahead, Diane.
Gilberto, I really want to thank you and just tell you how much I appreciate it. Since I've become a member of the board, am not engaged with the GOP like I used to be, the MoCo GOP. But in all the years I was involved before I joined the board, I just don't remember anything like this, if any of it at all. And you have really stepped up, and I think it's made a great difference for the MoCo GOP, and it is so appreciated and recognized. So I just want to thank you.
Thank you. It's team effort.
I want to second Diane's motion on that one. It was definitely very important. Obviously, there's always more to do, as you said, and as we've discussed, this is not our last election. But it's been great. We made we asked that we push more in that direction, and you've taken what we said and you've multiplied it by 1,000, and we appreciate that. So I just wanted to mention, I don't know whether your media responsibilities are part of your outreach report, but I just wanted to mention that Ami and I are going to have the great honor of waking up at the crack of dawn on Thursday in order to meet with whatever media tells Dr. Z that they will meet us at the Silver Spring Civic Building, which is their choice of locations. We try to choose a location where they have half a chance of showing up, because we really don't want to wake up at the crack of dawn and have nobody come. But in any event, we appreciate your work on arranging all that. And I think it's really important for people to know not only that early voting has started, but also our little tips about avoiding, the last day, if they can make their decisions sooner, et cetera. So thank you for that.
My pleasure.
Anything else for Gilberto? Okay, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
The next thing on the agenda is new business. The one item that is listed is something that we already did at the canvas on Saturday, when we were all in the room together, so that we could all pick out of, I don't remember if it was a hat or what exactly it was. We were picking out of a bowl or whatever, but I'm sorry, Boris, what was it that we picked out of?
It was a
Glass bowl.
glass bowl.
A glass bowl. We randomly selected precincts out of a glass bowl. We do not know what those precincts are. I think most of us picked 2 and some picked 1. But whatever the case, we do have precincts for the already selected for the post-election audit. Is there any other new business today? Okay, seeing none, let's talk about the future action items from today's meeting. One was updating the voter registration reference on the website. On a longer term basis, it's not something that we're expecting to report back on next month, is any suggestions that people have to anything more we can do on recruiting Republican election judges, with the I just want to make clear that all of us believe that we've done a lot more than we used to, and we were doing a lot, but we still need to do more. And we need others to do more as well. Were there any other future action items that from today's meeting? Because I don't recall any.
I do not have anything else written, David.
Does anyone else recall anything from today's meeting that are future action items? It's not like Boris doesn't have enough to do without more action items from our meeting. If we hadn't met at all today, he would be fully employed, probably through Thanksgiving. If not through Thanksgiving, then, through much of November. Okay. Then the next item on the agenda is approval of minutes, but you may have noted that we have not gotten September's minutes yet. The recording of the meeting is available to the public. The minutes that are helpful as a guide have given way to the many other things that our staff is doing right now. When I listed them earlier, I left out the HR hiring related things that they've been doing. I won't even bore you with the whole list, but Boris indicated that it was going to be extraordinarily challenging to get minutes to us for this meeting. So we just decided that we would let that roll until next month, with our thanks to Lisa and others for all the things that they are doing in the meantime. Okay, so the last thing before adjournment and then our executive session is future meetings. The agenda lists us as having our next Canvas meeting on Wednesday. That is no longer accurate. It was at the time that the agenda was published, but we have since decided that we are not meeting on Wednesday. We are meeting on Saturday, October 26th at 10 a.m. At the same location at Montgomery College, Germantown, in the Bioscience Education Building, and we will have a virtual board meeting at 11 o'clock on Election Day, Tuesday, November the 5th, where we will all join from wherever we are. Boris, the board meetings link on the website does not include November 5th, so we might as well add it, or perhaps, I don't know whether we're going to add it or we're going to change it from whatever the November meeting is, but we do want to meet on Election Day at that time from wherever we are. That will be an opportunity for us to compare notes on whatever we have observed on the morning of Election Day. I'm sure board members all are aware of this, but according to the state law, all of us are required to be available on Election Day, all board members. So, and I appreciate it. I know that everyone has competing obligations. So thank you for being available on Election Day, and we will meet at 11 o'clock on that day. Does anyone have anything else for the good of the order before we adjourn and go to our closed session? We did get an email from Brenda in Kevin's office earlier today. Okay, this meeting stands adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
David,
Yes, sir.
for our purposes, the closed session will be for the approval of consideration of 2 confidentiality requests, discussion of the future budget, and security plan for the 2024 general election. Those are the 3 enumerated reasons for closing the meeting for an executive session.
Yes, thank you. I'm sorry, I should have mentioned those. And I'm glad that that is on the record. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks. See you soon.
Okay.